Today I'm going to be talking about setting variables for different objects, and I basically touched on this on my last video, but I just added the code, but I didn't talk about it in the video. This time I'm going to talk about variables, and also I'm going to talk about how to have enemies follow you throughout the game. So let's get started here. So basically I have this object here, which is a cylinder, which is this object right here. So let me play the game and I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'll show you how the variable works, where you have to hit it several times before they blow up, and that's the variable. When you hit it several times, it'll blow up using different weapons, and then also talk about the characters here, how they move towards you and all that stuff. So let me show you that real quick, and then I will explain it a little bit, and then I'll put the code in there on YouTube. Alright, so basically you can go here, collect a weapon. Alright, so let me just get a couple weapons here, ammo set up, get all this ammo going here. Alright, so now I have 20, well 25 now. So now what's going to happen here is I'm going to shoot this object, and it's on a variable, so you have to shoot a couple times depending on what weapon you have. So the first one, pretty much took like 7 hits before you can destroy it. Now I'm going to switch it to a different weapon. It only took 2 hits to destroy it, so it's a better weapon. Your ammo that's on green is stronger than your red, so it takes less hits to destroy the object. So I'm going to talk about how to do that. And then also your enemy's going to follow you. So down here is where the enemies are at, so they're going to follow you. See how they're coming at you. So, and then you can shoot them too. And I'm not sure how to do this yet. I'm not sure if anybody can help me here, but I'm trying to find out how I can make the character move the other direction. And I don't want the ammo to be on the character. I want it to be static, and I want to be able to move left, up, and down in the different directions and be able to shoot. That's what I'm having an issue right now with. I'm not sure how to do that. I mean, he moves back, moves forward, moves down and up, but I want him to go that direction, and I don't want the ammo to follow the character. I want it static. So if anybody can help me with that, it'd be greatly appreciated. Just put that in the comments down below, because I'm trying to figure out how to do that. And then I could actually physically do it for you guys, and then you can have that game, and you can modify this game to your liking for a game for your computer or your Android device. Yeah. Alright, so that's how it pretty much works. Okay, so basically the cylinders we're talking about here, the big cylinder here. So basically it's going to collide within the circle of here. Basically when it hits this circle icon, it's going to get hit, because I have it set to precise. So you got a variable in here, so I did a create, add event, create, and then I got a variable here, went to the control tab, brung over a variable, and it says I put enemy health, that's the variable, and then the value is going to be at 16. So basically that's telling the computer that he has, his health is going to be at 16. That's how much his health bar is. And then I dragged over another variable, and I set it to maximum health, enemy health, and the variable is enemy health. I'm not sure what this is all about, but I know you need this in there for it to work, so you need both. this is basically telling the this is how much the enemy is having. It's having 16 health, and then which is the variable? Variable is enemy health. Value is 16. Do not have the relatives checked. Then the variable is going to be. Then the next variable is going to have max enemy health. Value is going to be enemy health. Do not have relatives checked. Do not. Make sure it's solid. I have a depth at minus 20. Then when the bullet hits, put another variable in there. It's just going to say enemy health, and then the value is only going to take away 1 point. Minus 1 is going to take 1 point away from the enemy when you hit it, and you have it set to relative. Then you drag over another variable is test a variable. So variable is going to be enemy health, and the value is going to be 10, and the operation is going to be less than. So I can't remember how this is set up, but I know you have to have it set up this way in order for it to work correctly. So I believe you just need to, I'm not sure what this is all about, but I know it needs to be set up like this in order for it to work correctly. The biggest thing is this point right here. So this weapon is kind of weak, this bullet, and it's only going to take away minus 1, only take away 1 health. But it also has to do a test. You have to have a test variable in there, otherwise it won't work correctly. If you hit it one time, it may just blow up. So you got to have this test variable in here, set itself, and then the value is at 10, which I believe after 10 hits it's going to blow up. But it doesn't make sense because he has the health at 16. But I know normally when I look this up on the computer, they say that the value needs to be at 0, but when I do that, it doesn't work right in the game. So that's why I have the value set at 10. So I do believe if you make this variable, if you make the variable here higher, then I do believe you have to make this value a little higher too. Then what's going to happen is it's going to switch to last hit. So the last hit's going to be this image right here, which is the damage part of what it looks like after it's blown up, and it's gonna blink a little bit and go back and forth. And I put a crate in there, and then it's going to have a set alarm set room underscore speed dot, or it's room underscore speed asterisk dot 8 milliseconds, and then alarm 0. After alarm 0 hits, it's going to do the same thing, room underscore speed asterisk dot 8 milliseconds, and after the room 0, it's going to be destroyed. Make sure you have destroyed set to other. Otherwise, if you do not, it's going to destroy all of the barrels in the room. That's what I call it, the green barrel and blue barrels. So you want to make sure it's set to the other. That way it only destroys that one object, not all of them. So like I said, it's going to blink for 8 milliseconds, and then it's going to be destroyed. It's going to make a sound. And I dragged over a sound effect, and then I have this set to, it's not going to move. The speed is a 0, and it's not going to move. And then I have these special effects in here where you can get that from the drag over a special effect, and I selected smoke up, and is at X and Y is at 0, and then I chose large, and I chose a color which is black, and then I chose above object and make sure it's relative. So when you hit and destroy it, it's going to show this smoke effect, and it's going to float up for a couple of seconds, and then it's going to die out. And then I also had another special effect, and I did a smoke up, but I made a gray object, made it gray, and it had it set to medium, and it's below the object. And then I have another one, and it's going to be orange, which is the fire, and I changed it to explosion. X and Y is at 0, medium, and then I chose a color. which is the orange, and then above, and then set it to relative. And keep in mind with these special effects, if you add too many special effects in your game, it will slow your game down when you play it on your tablet or phone, depending on how fast your processor is on your phone or tablet. But just keep in mind that you don't want to bog your game down with too many special effects. I always try to make my own special effects in my Photoshop program, but like I said, you can use their Photoshop, their special effects in Game Maker. Just be aware that it may slow down your phone processor or your tablet processor, but it seems to work great on, you know, computer where it has a lot of processing. Alright, so that explains the special effects. And like I said, there's lots of other special effects you can do. You can do fireworks, you can do stars, flares, clouds. So I believe the cloud one is one I got from when I did my rain effect, but I think I did the code for that. I didn't use their drag and drop thing. Alright, so this is after the barrel is destroyed. It goes to this flat object which is already destroyed, and it makes the special effects, and does all the effects as well, the color effects and the sound effects and it's set to false at the explosion. Okay, so and then with the strong bullet, I have that set to enemy health, and I have that value set to -1, 2, set to relative checked. But this one, I have the value of 15. So variables at enemy health, values at 15, operations less than. I think what this represents, this value, is that this is telling the computer that the weapon is really strong, and it's only going to get hit. It's only going to take a couple hits before it's destroyed. So I think that's what this is what that represents. So this bullet's kind of weak, so it only takes away 10. It only takes away 10. The value is 10. It only takes away 10 healths from the barrel, but the stronger weapon, it takes 15 away from it. So it's kind of confusing a little bit, but like I said, this is how you set up the variable. So when you hit the object so many times, then it will destroy the object, depending on how strong your weapon is. If your weapon's weak, it's going to take away less amount from the, so it takes more hits before the object's destroyed. Then you have a stronger weapon, which is going to take more hits, which I have it set to 15, which is going to take less time to destroy the barrel. So that's what I'm really getting at right here. So this is another way of destroying your enemies using a variable. So you don't hit one time and it just dies, he just blows up. It takes a couple shots before he actually kills the enemy. Alright, so now let's talk about the enemies following you. Each enemy has to have its own side. So I have a right, I have a left enemy, then I have a up enemy, and then I have a down enemy. And I also have a stationary enemy where he doesn't move at all. So this object right here would be probably more universal depending on which way he's looking. I mean, I guess you would have to just have a universal image, I guess, in a way. Well, not really, I guess. Well, see, I wouldn't make it universal that way. If they stop, then they look universal, no matter which direction they're going in. Okay, so basically each object has a step event in there which has code. So you drag add event, drag a step in there, and then get a coded sheet from the code tab, and the code's basically this, and I'll put this in the description and YouTube. It says var target equals object player, so it's going to go after the player object, and I'm sure if you had other objects, like right now my player is only going right, But if I had another player in there that he's going down, then you would have to add that code in there too. So it would say var target equals object player, and then you have var target equals object player right, object player left, object player up, and object player down. All that would have to be in the code here, so that way it goes and it follows you no matter which way you're going with your character. And so it's gonna follow you. So I use the if point underscore distance, and it's gonna follow the character, either the x coordinates or the y coordinates at a certain speed, and then point direction as well. I don't know exactly what all this code does, but then, like I said, it talks about here. It says if the character is going moving left, then you want to change your enemy going left. So you change your sprint index, you change your enemy going left, and then I have a speed at 10, so he's going to turn. So if the enemy is turning right, if he's moving right first, and then you turn left, then the enemy is going to turn left, and he's going to make a speed at 10. So he's going to go really quick and turn at 10. And I noticed if you have this speed at lower than 10, then it kind of lags a little bit. The enemy kind of lags a little bit before he turns, so that's why I have the speed a little higher than what it was originally. I think the original code was set up to 3, so it took a while for the enemy to recognize that he turned left, so that the enemy lagged a little bit when it's turning. So if you change the speed to 10, then it takes less time for him to turn, so it's less lag for the enemy to turn when the character turns. So if the character turns right, then the enemy is going to turn right. If the character moves up, then the enemy is going to go up. If the character goes down, then enemy is going to go down 10 speed. So you have to have the enemy here at 10 speed, and you have to also change it here to 10 speed. And your enemy object going down is right here, so that's sprint. The sprint image, which is going to be this right here. So you need this sprint image in the code. Do not use you don't want to use the object name. You want to use the sprint name in your code. And that's pretty much it. So if you want to change the speed, you would change the speed in this area right here, the image speed, and right here as well in the player. So you have to have your player image goes left or right or up and down. You have to have the same setup for the enemy too. He has to go up, left, right, or down, so he goes the same direction. And then if you shoot your bullet, then he's gonna make a noise. He's gonna die, make a noise sound like ah, and then he's gonna do an explosion. I did a smoke up on that, and then he's gonna die off. And I set it to self. That one you have to set it to self, not to other. If you mess with other, it's gonna mess up the other objects in the game. So you want to make sure it's set up to self. And then have the bigger weapon, and it's going to destroy them just like that. Smoke up and destroy self. And then if he hits the barrels, he's going to stop. The enemy's going to stop at speed at 0. And then if the enemy goes across that last hit, which is this object right here, after you destroy the barrel, then it's going to destroy the enemy at self. So all this same code has to be in with all the enemy objects. If you don't have the code in there for all the enemy objects, then depending on what enemy you put down here, he may not move in the direction of the character because you don't have the code in there. So make sure the code is in there for all the objects, the up, left, down, right state for the enemy. So I just copied the same code for each enemy portion, so it's the same code for all the enemy objects. Just make sure it's all in there, and then Like I said, if in this last portion of the code says that if the character is not moving pretty much, then the enemy is going to be set to 0 and he's going to be stationary, which means that he's not going to be moving. He's going to be just standing there waiting for me to move, and then the enemy's going to start moving. If I stop, then the enemy's going to stop, and that's what it's staying right here. It's just staying right now. He's just staying static for right now until I start moving, and then when I start moving, then the enemy's going to start moving in that same direction. It's kind of like Pac-Man. Pac-Man moves up, the enemy ghost moves up, and you see their eyeballs going up. If Pac-Man's going down, then the enemy follows him down, and the eyeballs go down a little bit. So that's what is going on right here. Like I said, the enemies hit the barrel, they're going to stop, you know, until you destroy the barrel or you start moving away from the barrel, and then they'll start trying to follow you. And like I said, I have the enemies at the visible, but it's not solid. Alright, and I'll show you this one more time. Just make sure I said everything in the game. And like I said, when I collect all this ammo here, see right now it's indicating that it's on red. So he's going to shoot the weaker weapon right now. When he clicks on the green, the button turns to green to indicate that he's going to shoot the better weapon. And the weapon also times out. It only goes so far and then it times out. See, it stops there. But the better weapon goes a little farther. And you have the same ammo because I used the persistent on this. So, like I said, I have a timer in the ammo too, so after a second it's going to time out and it's going to get destroyed, which is, I have this set to other. That way, if you shoot several weapons out, it's not going to destroy all of the weapons. It's only going to shoot that one. It's going to time out that one ammo. So I have it set to other. If you have it set to self, it's going to destroy. It's going to destroy all the ammo that you fire out at one time, and you don't want that. You only want one ammo to be destroyed at one time. So you have to set it to other. And then I have the weaker weapon is going to be 0.8 milliseconds, and then it's going to time out and be destroyed. Set to other. And be sure in room 1 that you do not have your character in the second room. You don't want that. Just make sure that your character is set to persistent. That way you'll have the same amount of ammo you continue to have in the first room. It'll move into the second room. It's just kind of like the inventory, same setup. So make sure that your character is set to persistent, but do not put the character in the second room, otherwise it's going to mess up. And it's not going to show your ammo. It's not going to be correct either. It's probably going to be back to 0. But he's okay to put him in the first room. You want him to be in the first room, but do not put him in the second room, or he's going to mess up. Gotta just set him to persistent, so he'll be in the second room with the same amount of ammo. And he also jumps when he hits this. He's going to jump back to start position because you don't want him to be where he was located when he hit the object. So he'll go to the second room, but you want to make sure he jumps back to the start position, which is right here. Because if you don't do that, you hit this object here and go to the next room, you'll be right in this area here, which is not what you want. You want to go back to the main portion. You want to go back to where you were originally when you start the next room. Alright, and that's it. I'll go ahead and give you the code for this, as well as I'll give you the code for the enemy follow and the variable again, and I'll make a GMX file for this, and that's it. Thank you.